And I'm waiting a half a second so the live stream kicks in. Okay, so now we're live streaming. So I'm Judge Zeke Zeidler, and I'm really appreciative of the commitment that you've all taken on as new CASAs. This is the best volunteer opportunity in the world. Anytime I meet anyone who's looking for a volunteer opportunity, anytime anyone tells me they're retiring, first thing I do is say CASA. This is the one volunteer opportunity you have to work with an individual child or sibling group to really make a difference in their lives. And it can be very daunting to be involved in the foster care system, and to have someone there who's an advocate for you is so valuable and precious. CASA National has this book of essays by former foster kids, and every single essay has the same thing in it, which says, my judge changed. Of course, I don't change, but my judge changed, my social worker changed, my attorney changed, and the one person who continued to be there for me was my CASA. So often the CASA is the one bit of continuity and stability in a child's life. Your friends are going to say, oh my gosh, you're working with abused and neglected kids. That must be so horrible. Most of our cases, as you've learned from your phenomenal training, aren't coming in for severe physical abuse or sexual abuse. Most of them are coming in because of families that just need some help. Parents with drug and alcohol issues, parents who, based upon communication and trauma and other factors, are participating in violent relationships of their own, and the need for them to get the assistance they need to either be able to keep their child in their home safely, or to work on their issues, to work towards regaining the children and custody of the children. And if that isn't possible, then we are looking towards permanence for children, whether that's in adoption or guardianship or something else. So it's a phenomenal court system where we really have a chance to help people one-on-one, and you more than anyone are going to be the one having the chance to help them one-on-one. So while you have me here, and I don't know what judge or attorney spoke to your CASA class, but does anyone have any questions that you didn't get to ask up until now, or comments about your training and observation, one or the other? Yes, Michael.
Hi, yes, thank you. Yeah, I had a question. What do you see as kind of the essential difference between the role, before you, that a CASA plays and, say, a social worker?
So social workers are responsible for investigating and providing services. The difference with the CASA is that the CASA really is the eyes and the ears of the court, and investigating what's going on with that child and making recommendations to the court as to what services they need, what placement is appropriate, all of those types of things. Social workers are often bound by a whole lot of policy and red tape and other things. So the CASA is really looking at this one child or one sibling group. It might be education issues, it might be placement issues, it might be some medical issues, looking at what is going on with the child and what orders need to be made to meet that child's needs. So social workers' reports can be very dense to get through, whereas the CASA report is really simple. Here's what's going on with the child. Here's who I've spoken to and what information I got from them, and here's what recommendations I'm making for the court to order in terms of services for this child. So you also, social workers, like the attorneys, have these caseloads where you are just going to have this one child or sibling to be dealing with. So you're going to be able to spend more time on that child and looking into that child's needs than the social workers do. In LA County, in other counties, Sacramento, San Diego, Orange County, judges have 350, maybe 500 kids each. In Los Angeles, we've been as high in 2003 as almost 1,700 kids each, and in 2006, 1,400 kids each. The children's attorneys should have 140 kids or 180 if they have a part-time social worker. At times, our children's attorneys have had 250 kids on their caseloads. Social workers at times have had 2 to 3 times the national best practice standards. So it really is a difference of your ability to focus in on this one specific child without dealing with fires that are burning that you have to put out on all of your cases, et cetera, as well. Emily.
Hello, thank you so much for taking the time. I was just wondering from your perspective as judge, if there was any piece of advice or anything that you really like to see or look for specifically when we do write the court reports that's helpful to you in terms of the type of thing that you're trying to accomplish as your position.
So I just said how great the format of the court reports is. I do think the recommendations and making sure you're discussing with your CASA supervisor what recommendations are doable and which ones aren't, but clear recommendations of what we should be ordering, et cetera, is one. Two, in your training, hopefully you did an exercise. Were you remote or in person, Emily?
We were all remote.
So I don't know to what extent they are doing the values exercise that they used to do, where you fill out the sheet with most agree, somewhat agree. So what I love about that exercise is that that exercise is designed to make you aware of your values. And I teach a lot about implicit bias, and so much as not being aware of your own values and how much you're putting that onto this child, this family, this case. So making sure that your own feelings about, a child being better off in this foster home with their swimming pool and their dog than with their parent who's actually resolved all of their issues but might be living in a studio apartment, making sure you're checking yourself as to your biases and values not clouding your recommendations and judgment.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Evelyn and then Daniel.
Thank you. Thanks for making the time and being here for us today as well. My question is kind of ties into Emily's just a little bit because you spoke about implicit bias and also values. I wondered what other qualities you feel a CASA should possess in order to be, particularly effective at this position.
Investigation skills and asking questions as to what is out there. So you're going to be identifying this child has this need, but identifying then what is the service that's available to meet that need. And one thing you'll see after the swearing in is I ask each of you to talk about what your background is, and you're going to end up having classmates who have medical backgrounds, who have education backgrounds. So, and your supervisors are going to have resources. So really being able to research and investigate what the resources are to meet the needs that you're identifying in the child, I think is probably the biggest thing. So that investigative and research ability.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is like the first class where like 4 people have raised their hands. It's like so awesome. Daniel.
Hi, Your Honor. Judge, I don't know what to say. But Your Honor, it's a pleasure to meet you. You've got great energy. And I do have a question. And it kind of formulated when I was doing the court report. Not that I'm the type to, actually in the court report, I agreed with what the social worker had recommended. But what would happen in court if, say, the CASA really did not agree with what the social worker recommended, and we filled out a court report? How would you weigh that, knowing that they are overloaded and it's possible they didn't come to the correct, I don't want to say correct, didn't come to a recommendation that we view as not proper for the youth? Yeah.
The benefit is that the 2 of you aren't the only players, and there are still attorneys in the process, and there is the county council representing the social worker and their position and what they have to support it. And there is still a child's attorney, and if the parent is involved, a parent's attorney involved. I have had cases where the child's attorney and the CASA are very much alike. I had a case recently where the child's attorney, the CASA, and the RAP team all are in agreement that they want a different social worker on the case. So I'm going to have to look at all of the things and weigh all of that as to what I do with that. But that, you know, my job is to get all this information from all of you who don't necessarily agree. And that's where it comes to having a judge in this process. So much of this process is that once the government has taken control of these children, you've got this federal constitutional issue with the government intruding on the constitutional liberty interest of parents to raise their children free of government intrusion. And that kicks in all those due process things and all the considerations that I have to look at legally, best interest, detriment, and all those things to make a decision. So you put in your information and I hear from everyone and I do the best I can.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. So I've been doing this now, you know, the other advice I'll give you is don't always assume the judge you're in front of has more background and knowledge than you. I've been on the bench in my courtroom 24 years, and I represented parents and kids for 6 years before that. We have a lot of judges who have been on the bench here. Next week, we will have 2 judges who have been on the bench here for 1 week or 0 weeks and are coming in totally fresh with 2 weeks of training and probably as much training as you've had. So don't assume that the judge before you knows everything, and make sure that you're advocating to the best you can and making your position information known. Last thing before swearing in, you're going to have big cases, you're going to have little cases, you're going to have cases with a simple special education issue, you're going to have cases with complex special education issues. You might have a case with a medical issue. CASAs make incredible differences in kids' lives. And the one story I will tell you is about a case, and there have been newspaper articles about him. His name was Dodger. He'd been severely physically abused as an infant, and he was in the hospital, not clear if he'd ever be able to walk again, had limited upper arm mobility. After about a year, the CASA changed on the case. And as CASA Jan Miller attended every single hospital meeting, doctor's meeting, and at some point, she was the one who identified that he could get a gait trainer and assisted walking device and how to get it and how to get qualified for it, and had me order the agency to get it. Eventually, we identified a potential adoptive mother in Illinois, and Jan would include her just on her speakerphone in all these medical meetings. She came out and visited, and eventually Dodger was adopted in Illinois when we finalized the adoption, and Lynn was in chambers, and back then we didn't have Zoom, it was FaceTime, and we finalized the adoption on FaceTime, and the whole home in Illinois had Dodger banners up. It was Dodger Day in Illinois. A few years later, Jan, I ran into her in the cafeteria and she pulls out her phone and she shows me a photo of Dodger with leg braces on, walking a Tommy Hilfiger runway in New York at the age of like 11 or something. Jan passed away of cancer, but I visited her when my husband and I visited her before she passed away, and we FaceTimed with Dodger, and he was on his way to Florida to play in a sled ice hockey tournament. He showed me 2 autographed jerseys of US Paralympic hockey team members, and because of his upper arm strength, they would attach the hockey stick to his glove and someone would push him in a sled while he played hockey. This is a kid who has every opportunity in the world because of a CASA who looked into his needs, made sure his needs were met, and made sure that he would be able to do everything up to his ability and more. So that's my tearjerker story. And on that note, we are about to swear all of you in, and what we're going to do is have the CASA staff turn off their cameras, so only the new CASAs have their cameras on. And in a minute, I'm going to have all of you unmute. When I say I, state your name, you're going to say I and then your name. If you're uncomfortable with the word swear, you can use the word affirm. And in the chat, is what you're going to be repeating after me, so it's easier for you. So let's have all the CASAs unmute and raise. Oh, wait, hold on. I'll be right back. Don't move. I forgot about that. So, if we're in person, I always like to at least make it feel really real with the judge in his robe. So let's get that going. All your friends and family are watching. They need to feel like, this is really a judge, not some guy in his suit. Okay, all the CASAs unmute. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Trace
Gio,
You hereby swear
do
hereby
swear
that I will truly and faithfully
that
I
I
will
will truly and faithfully
perform the duties of court-appointed special advocate
perform the duties of
court-appointed
special advocate
on all cases to which I am appointed,
on
all cases to which I am
I
appointed.
am appointed,
that I will do so according to that I will do so according to law
That
I will do so according to law
and the policies of CASA of Los Angeles,
and the
the
policies
policy of
CASA of
Los Angeles,
and that I will always act
and that I will
Always
always
act.
act
in the best interests
in the
best
best
interest
of the child or children
The child or
the
children
child or
children
for whom I am appointed.
for whom I am
appointed.
appointed.
Mazel tov, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're not done yet though, so don't mute yet. Woohoo, more woohoos. You can do more woohoos, it's okay. So we do have a second thing, which is as court-appointed volunteers, you will have access to dependency court legal files and proceedings. As you know, these files and dependency court proceedings are confidential. You are charged with the responsibility of upholding the confidentiality of these cases. You are not to discuss these cases nor reveal the identity of these children with any persons other than those individuals who are rightly involved in the case. This would include those court personnel, social workers, family members, the child's, not your own, attorneys, or other professionals assigned to the case. So raise your right hand again, and it is in the chat, and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do
I do solemnly swear
to uphold the confidentiality,
to uphold
the
confidentiality,
confidentiality
information
of the
information
contained in the legal files
contained in the
legal
legal
files
files
and all other case information
and
all
all
other
other
case
information
that comes to my attention
that comes
comes
to my
attention
attention
during the course of my work
during the
during
course of my work.
as a court-appointed special advocate.
As a court-appointed special
advocate.
Okay, now it's really official. Mazel tov. Congratulations. I'm going to have you all mute again. This is the point where if we were in person, and the last time we were in person, we were kind of elbow bumping, I would call your name, you'd come up, I'd hand you a certificate, which you will still get your certificate. We'd take a photo together. If you had family and friends, they'd come up, we'd take a photo together. Needless to say, we're not doing that anymore. I would hope CASA would get back to that one day, but I also understand how convenient this is for everyone. That also would give you a chance to kind of watch in court in the morning in person live. Today, I think I actually have the most in-person parties I've had in the last 4 years. So instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to call your name. And when I call your name, please unmute and tell me either how you learned about CASA or what you do for a living, pick one or the other. And also let us know if you have anyone watching on the YouTube feed. So starting with Alice Swella.
Hi, good morning, and thank you. I guess it's afternoon. I am a community volunteer who learned about CASA from another community volunteer. Homeschooled my 4 children and have been involved in a lot of children's lives, and this seemed like a great fit. So I'm excited to get going.
That is awesome. And do you have anyone watching today?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
So should I be asking about your other community volunteer work or not?
Well, through the years, it's been a variety of things, but right now, I volunteer with our local police department. So I direct traffic and drive around and check houses, and nothing that exciting, but it feels good to be, watching out.
That's awesome. Thank you. Welcome. So one thing I didn't say earlier is that one of my concerns in the pandemic, this is for all of you, one of my concerns in the pandemic has been, people are looking for something to do and getting involved. And CASA really has a history of volunteers who this is a years and years commitment. And every year at the CASA Volunteer Lunch, they recognize years of service, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of service as CASA. So I really encourage you to think of this as a real long-term volunteer commitment. Next up is Carolyn Yarnell.
Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm a math professor at Cal State Dominguez Hills. Love working with the students there. So my friend Sharon at work, she's somebody watching right now. I got my friends at work and my husband are watching. Hi. She told me about this opportunity, and the more I learned about it, the more it seemed like a really great fit. And I just want to shout out to everybody else that's graduating. You guys are amazing. I felt like I learned a lot from them, and I'm so excited to do this.
It's so great. You learn from each other. It's awesome. Is there still an M&M Soul Food across the street from Cal State Dominguez Hills? So good.
I don't know if it's still there.
It's
Which,
still there.
okay, I'll check it out.
Daniel Hunt.
Yes, Your Honor. I got involved with CASA because there was a neighbor's son that was, I don't know, he was going down the wrong path in life, and he just dropped out of UCSB. And I caught him a few times walking home high on something, or drunk maybe, and smelled the weed and more. So I got involved in this kid's life, and he was he didn't have a father. So I think I kind of took that role. I'm not really sure, but I loved it so much because I saw him get back on track, and he really absorbed everything I was saying to help him. And then I was asking around afterwards, like, how can I do that on my free time? And somebody from Florida said, join CASA. I'm like, well, I live in California. And he's like, no, that's a nationwide thing. And you guys are the best. The best. I researched all the other volunteering agencies, and you guys are the best. So I said, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm committing to this. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And anyone watching?
Well, I sent the link to my brother, so hopefully he's on there. What's up, bro?
Welcome. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Next up is Donna DiMaggio. You're not muted. There you go.
Okay. I don't remember how I first heard about CASA. It just has come up so many times in my career, and I was an educator. I worked with special education students, and then I was an administrator in a middle school. So I had a lot to do with the children with special needs that were in our school. I worked full-time, part-time, and then my husband was ill and I cared for him. And when my daughter said to me, well, okay, what are you going to do now with the rest of your life? CASA came up. It just seemed to me that it would be a natural thing that I've thought about so many times, and for various reasons have had to put it aside. So I'm glad I'm here now. Thank you.
Welcome. Is your daughter watching?
No, unfortunately, they're both very, very busy with their lives.
There you go. Are those Ansel Adams behind you?
Yes.
Awesome.
There's a couple that they're not all Ansel Adams.
The two on my right, your left, probably.
The center ones are Ansel Adams, and then the far one on my right's an Ansel Adams. We collected black and white photography, so it's all over the house. We finally had to quit because there were no more walls.
And what school districts were you in?
Los Angeles Unified.
More power to you. That's awesome. Thank you, everyone. Someone who has knowledge of LA Unified, write it down.
Right. Things have changed a bit since I was working for them, but still have a basic knowledge.
Things have changed a bit since I was a student there.
No.
Emily Martino.
Hello, good afternoon. I am a special education teacher as well. I started off in a program called Teach for America. So I started off serving in South Los Angeles, and then have kind of done different things in my career but stayed in the special education realm. And I was influenced. So the powers of good through social media. There was somebody that I followed who does foster care, and she was just talking about the importance of CASAs. And I have a position where I'm part-time-ish, and just wanted to do something to give back to the community I've now transitioned to independent schools. So wanted to be able to use my knowledge, and I think the areas that I have gifts in order to just give back and support the community. I love working with kids, and I'm really excited to hopefully be able to support the kids through what is a very difficult process.
And what social media person, give her credit.
Gosh, what is her name?
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
The CASA staff are all putting in the chat right now. There are like 2 or 3 who are always mentioned.
I'll put it
Laura? Is it Laura?
No, she's in another state.
Oh, another state. Okay.
Yeah,
And do you have anyone watching?
I don't.
Okay. Nice meeting you. Welcome. Today is Emily Day. Emily Norensberg.
Hi, good afternoon. I too have an LAUSD background. I'm a stay-at-home mom now. I have 2 little kids. But I was a high school teacher at Hollywood High. I taught English and Italian. And I miss kids. I have like my little ones, but I miss being around teenagers. I miss having that sort of connection to the community. So before the pandemic, but when I had little kids, I was a docent at the Getty Villa for student tours. So I had like my kid connection there. But that didn't work time-wise. So CASA's continuously kind of popped up for me, like some other people have said, just through people that I know or on social media. And then the real sort of kicker for me was that another mom in my daughter's preschool who has twins is a CASA. And I was like, okay, if you have like little kid twins and you can make this work like in your life and your schedule, then I have time for it too. So here I am.
That's great. Yeah, docent jobs have kind of gotten a little more difficult during and after the pandemic. I'm on the board of the Skirball Cultural Center, and I know that there are less docent opportunities and less docents available. Well, welcome. That's great. All of you educators, I was on the school board in Redondo Beach. I love educators. And do you have anyone watching?
I do not. Everyone is busy or at camp or school.
Go get your break. Come on. Welcome. Next up, Evelyn Booth.
Hi there again. Well, my daughter was supposed to watch today. She's 27, and somehow the live stream wouldn't go through her company system, and she couldn't see it. She was at work, and my husband was in these meetings that nothing could be rescheduled, and he's bummed too. I'm not sure if there's a video, but they're both hoping, and so am I. But it's nice to meet you. It's going to be wonderful to work with CASA and with judges like yourself. My background is that I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I practice in Redondo Beach. So didn't know you had been in the same area. I spent time volunteering in my life, mostly in the form of like working with a women's group in the South Bay to help raise funds and promote and advocate for any organization that would actually be supportive to children or their families that are in need. And that need could include homelessness or at-risk issues, abuse situations. It kind of ran the gamut. And so I really enjoyed that. And then becoming a therapist, my first year as a therapist, I got to work with kids a lot because I was in a high school in Watts for my first year. And I got to work with the teachers and the kids and their families, the counselors. And it was just a really great kind of wraparound thing at the school that I really enjoyed. And then got really busy and started training in the area of couples work, and found that I loved it. And then after, probably 10 years of specializing in couples work, I realized with our daughter launched, I kind of missed working with kids, and I found CASA online, and I'm really glad that I did. It feels like kind of the next natural extension for me to support a child and or a family in kind of a deeper way than maybe I'm even able to do as a therapist.
Very much so. And at the same time, everyone, you've got someone here with therapy background when you're trying to figure out what's the best therapeutic mode for a child you're dealing with.
Here for anybody who needs it.
We do a lot of training here on trauma. If no one's read the book by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry, What Happened to You? Great book all about trauma, and it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you that has shaped where you're at today and what to do about it.
Yeah. I also worked a lot with trauma and did some special training, really loved the space. And The Body Keeps the Score, if you've ever heard of that book, that's a great one for how long trauma stays in our systems, our physical states, our nervous systems.
See, I'm writing it down.
All right.
Thank you very much. Next up is Josh and Lee.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm a research engineer at a non-lethal weapon defense company. And I got into CASA because my friend from college, she's a CASA in the Bay Area, and she's been there since like 2017. And like when I was growing up, I didn't really have anyone in my life. Like I grew up in school, and I wasn't close to my parents, and there were a lot of like complicated family background. And so like when I first heard about it, and I was like really amazed at the concept, because I just thought about myself, and that when I was young, I wished that there was somebody there that's constant. So that's why I decided to volunteer.
Great, welcome, thank you. And do you have anyone watching?
Yeah, my husband, my dog, they're here.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, hubby.
in the office, yeah.
That's great. We've all just stole all of your research data on the board behind you, just so
Yeah, it's the geometry in the background, yeah.
Thank you very much, welcome.
Thank you.
Jonathan Arias.
Hi, good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm a legal assistant at Quinn Emanuel or Kurt Sullivan, and I learned about CASA I'm affiliated with the Los Angeles Paralegal Association, and I've seen them like promote it, so it just got me kind of interested, and here I am.
Great, and do you have anyone watching today?
No, I don't.
Welcome. So if anyone is not understanding a legal term, here he is. Jude Polly.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. I'm Jude. I'm an artist, and I have a lot of time. And a lot of my work is kind of lonely, so I'm alone in my studio. And I have a friend who is a CASA volunteer, and she recommended it, and it seemed like a great opportunity for me to get more involved.
Great. What kind of art do you do?
Ceramic sculptures.
Wonderful. Awesome. Is that the one over your left shoulder?
No, those are not me. Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at the gray. It looked like a mug. I couldn't tell. Welcome. Thank you. Contemporary sculptures or
Yes, contemporary. Yeah.
ever heard of Peter Shire?
Yes, I love him. Yeah.
Very close family friend.
Oh, cool.
Okay, welcome. Thank you. Kathleen Johnson.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kathleen Johnson. I learned about CASA from a friend, Susan Lynch, who told me about the program and loved it. So that's how I got involved. I'm a retired lawyer, and I've raised 4 kids. 2 are in college and 2 are still in high school. So I've got some time, and I'm very excited to start.
I think Susan Lynch was a CASA in my court. Is she a CASA?
Yeah, she's CASA. And I also forgot my daughter. My daughter Katie is watching.
Hi, Katie. Nice to meet you. And what kind of law did you do?
I did corporate work.
Oh, wow. More power to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you. And say hi to your our CASA friend for me.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Karen Stern.
Hi, thank you for taking the time. I was thinking, what am I going to say? I've come from a varied background from everyone else, retired from the mortgage banking business. But while there, my company really promoted volunteering. And at one point, we adopted a school in an inner city area. And I got matched up with a little boy. And for a year, I would see him once a week at lunch and really enjoyed it. I realized how much I enjoy children. And since retiring, I now I work for a company that does school testing. It's kind of on assignment. They do the NAEP testing, if you're familiar with NAEP. And I've been doing that for about 12 years now. And I just enjoy the kids. And, I thought this was a perfect time in my life. I have a little more time to devote to more of a permanent volunteer position. And really where I heard about CASA, I'm one of these old people that still get my newspaper delivered every day, the LA Times, yay. And months ago, they had an insert on all different kinds of volunteering and nonprofits. And I went through every single page, and CASA was the one that really spoke to me. So once I got past the holidays, I decided to pursue it. And I'm so excited. I think this will be a good fit for me, and I'm really looking forward to it. And no, nobody's watching, sorry.
I'll tell you, you were talking about that weekly work with the One Child Weekly. The interesting thing about CASA is that they will tell you you're not a special friend.
Yes.
You are there as an agent of the court to be researching and giving recommendations. But in some ways, there's no way for you not to end up having that special relationship.
Yeah, I really struggled in my head to separate being a mentor to being an advocate, but I think there will be some overlaps, but I understand, kind of the focus of this is very different.
Maybe you can, for the CASA kids, do a presentation on personal money management for foster kids. There are 2 former foster kids, twin brothers, who are so phenomenal. They now have a nonprofit called Twinspire, and one of the things they're doing is they're putting on money management, just simple how to manage a checkbook type of trainings for foster kids. So that banking background. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Michael Johnson, you're back from the very beginning.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Let's see, I'm a health policy consultant. At one point, not too long ago, I was a public policy director for a health insurance company. So I know a little bit about healthcare bureaucracies. And before that, I'd worked as a, consumer advocate, going all the way back to, working with Ralph Nader back in the, mid 80s. And I learned about CASA through a friend. I had also had experience through my wife had been mentoring a teenager in the foster care system, and it's now been it's 8 years, and I've gotten to know her very well as well, and that's been a really rich, rewarding experience. We don't have kids. And so, this just kind of seemed like an opportunity to combine a lot of the things that I feel passionate about. And my wife Betsy is watching now.
And we're all sitting here trying to navigate the healthcare system. So there you go, everyone. He's your guy. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie Furtado.
Hello, nice to meet you. So I'm Natalie. I'm a producer. I work in TV, digital, VR, but I'm hoping to one day be a resource parent. So I've known about CASA for years because, anytime I look for volunteer opportunities, it always comes up and I've always wanted to do it. But I felt like I was finally at a place at my job that I had the appropriate flexibility. And so I am so happy and excited to be here. No one's watching, but I am happy to be doing this with all my fellow classmates. I'm so proud of everyone. It's been a really great experience.
I love that you said resource parent instead of foster parent. All of you are already like so ahead of the curve on terminology and lingo. This is like the most varied group in terms of professional experience and background I think I've ever seen of a CASA class. And you all seem to have really bonded, which is awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Noelle White.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Pleasure to meet you. So Noelle, and I learned about CASA probably 10 years ago. And at the time I was currently working for a legislator. So had kind of crazy hours, working 60+ hours. And, but the two people I spoke with who'd done it had just the best things to say about like the impact and just like the connection they had with the youth they work with. So it's always been in the back of my mind. And now that my schedule is a little bit more stable in a new role, I felt like this would be a great way to, get involved and give back. So here I am.
Well, anyone watching?
No one watching today.
And what legislator did you work for, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so he's a state senator, Bill Monning. He's up in the Central Coast.
Right, great.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of legislators, at least one who I know who used to actually be a CASA. For some reason, I feel like Holly Mitchell or Karen Bass was a CASA a long time and a different county member. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Taylor Morrissey.
Hello. So I learned about CASA from a friend of mine who just started being a CASA a few months ago. And she had lots of great things to say about it. And like Natalie, I'm also interested in being a resource parent in the future. So I thought this would be a really good way to get to know the system and get to know some of the kids and, make sure that that is, a good fit for me. And the more I learn about CASA, the more I think it's an amazing organization. And I'm really honored to be able to have the privilege to actually be a volunteer here.
Wonderful. And anyone watching?
Yeah, I think my my dad and my sisters are watching. And I know my mom was watching, but had to go to a meeting.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, and my grandma too.
Grandma, if you're watching live on YouTube or if you watch later, thank you for a great granddaughter. Thank you. Next up, last but not least, Tracy Moldauer.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and about 10 years ago, my sister-in-law told me about her experience as a CASA in North Carolina, and I had never heard about it before, and it's just been in the back of my mind ever since, and I kept saying, oh, when I have more time, this is something I'm interested in. And then at the beginning of this year, I was just like, I'm doing it this year. So signed up, and it's been amazing working with this whole group, and I've learned so much, and it's really been a great training program. And also I've always liked to volunteer, and often it's been with kids. And so, yeah, that's why I'm here.
The training really is amazing. I think all of you probably know more about special education than half of the children's attorneys in the courthouse. You know about analyzing a case. There's so much that you've learned that is so valuable, and the CASA staff really is amazing. And now, in terms of the current CASA director, Charity is interested in raising important discussions and issues, please, if you're able to do the fireside chat tomorrow, highly recommend it. And one of the people she's having is the current head of DCFS, which is pretty awesome. And then one of her predecessor actually was the first one who started having all of the employees go through the CASA training, and most of the CASA staff are taking foster kids as CASA cases as well. So every director brings something new to it, but the training and the staff really are amazing. Be nice to your CASA staff. They're going through a lot of transitions. Some of them are working 4 jobs at once. But thank you all for the commitment. Congratulations on your new role. And anytime you want to come into my courtroom in person or log on remotely to be watching in court and get a better sense of the court proceedings, please feel free. And this was a lot longer than I should have been. So I'm going to turn you back over to the CASA staff and thank you once. I'm going to turn you back over to Emily, who I swore on CASA.
Thanks, Judge Zeidler.
Thank you, Judge Zeidler.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get some of you in and get them into your courtroom and observe. That'd be great. All right, have a good day. Bye. So we just have a few of our staff members who would like to welcome you to CASA and congratulate you. So I'm going to go through them. We've first got Director of Volunteer Recruitment and Outreach, OT. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon now. Welcome to CASA. We are so delighted to have you as an advocate and an ally. Your dedication to our youth, their families, and the communities they represent is crucial, and we appreciate your commitment to bringing your authentic self to this opportunity. And as a CASA, you play a pivotal role as an advocate, not only for the youth, but also for CASA itself. And we encourage you to share your experiences with CASA, including this training process and graduation, on your social medias. Don't forget to tag us. On Instagram, it's at casa.la. And on CASA, on Facebook, it's CASA of LA. And in addition, we kindly request that you share this volunteer opportunity with at least one person. Invite them to attend an info session just to learn more about CASA. Our next info session is scheduled for Thursday, July 13th at 10 a.m. and it will be conducted virtually. And I will provide the link in the chat for you to share that on your social media post that you're going to post today. And furthermore, if you would like to contribute your voice to our ongoing efforts of ensuring that CASA volunteers reflect the diverse communities that we serve, we invite you to join our Equity Coalition. And in July, we'll be holding a meeting to discuss our plans for our 2023-2024 year and welcome your valuable feedback for that. So look out for an email from our recruitment and outreach team in the next week, which will provide you with details on how you can get involved with the coalition. So once again, I extend a warm welcome to you and thank you for being a part of CASA.
Thank you, OT. Okay, next up, we've got our Chief Development Officer, Marie.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations and happy graduation. So I believe you're all aware that CASA of Los Angeles is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. 90% of our funding comes from individuals, business, foundations, and it's all to support our advocacy work. So, as a CASA volunteer, what I like to ask you is when you're out in your community, if you keep your eyes and ears open for any funding opportunities. And what I mean by that is that, a good example is that a couple of years ago, 2 CASA volunteers have children who dance at a studio, and this dance studio would hold an annual concert, and all the ticket sales from the grandparents and all the family members would all be donated to a local charity, and they would choose a different one every year. So our 2 CASAs said, well, we want you to do it for CASA. We went in there and pitched, and they said yes. And then a local family on top of that decided they could match what was raised through ticket sales. So it was a weekend of really amazing performances by these young people of and they raised $45,000 for us. So, just something like that. If you're involved in anything, any groups, if you eat at a local restaurant and they have, a nonprofit that they choose every month to give proceeds to, always, you can think of us and reach out to me, and we can go and do the pitch together or anything like that. And then the other part is that you will get event emails from us. We have a couple of events coming up in September or October, actually, this year. Is Justice Jog, which is a 5K, and it will be in at Dockweiler this year. So it's a fun way for you to run or walk or anything. You don't have to do that. But for myself, I will walk very slowly. So you can do that. It's a good way for you to introduce any friends or family to our organization. And then sometimes CASAs would just participate on their own with their youth. And then another event that we have coming up is called Wine and Art, and that is in November. And that's where we gather close to 200 pieces of artwork that are donated by the artist, and they are sold in an online auction, and all the proceeds go back to us. We also featured youth artwork there as well. So I won't go into too much more detail because it's been there's been a lot of information coming to you right now, but I am so happy to meet all of you. Actually, one final thing, social media. We'll be sending a photo of you all, getting sworn in via Zoom. And if you wanted to post that on social media, I will share our handles in the chat. And please don't forget to tag us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marie. Okay, and next we've got our Chief Volunteer Officer, Lynn.
Hi, everyone. My cat Pignon keeps trying to get into the frame here, so she's very needy right now. I'm just trying to push her back. She keeps jumping up. Hi, congratulations, everyone. This is really amazing. I thank you all for taking this on. If you're all feeling, I'm guessing that you're all feeling like super prepared, like you know exactly what you're going to do when you get assigned to a youth. Yeah, so I wasn't either. I became a CASA about 10 years before I started working at CASA. And if you feel overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do, then that's developmentally appropriate and you're going to be just fine, I promise you. I wanted to mention a couple of things. I know Judge Heidler said that he had a case where they all agreed that they wanted to change the social worker. And in case anybody gets any ideas, they rarely, ever do that. So if you get a social worker that you're not crazy about, you can be a very effective advocate, even if you don't get on well with the social worker. So I just wanted to clear that up. I also want to know, several of you said you had a friend who's a CASA. If you could email me their name, or you can just direct chat it to me. I would like to thank people when they refer somebody here. Third thing is, I have free digital copies of What Happened to You. So send me an email, and I'll put my email in the chat, and then I can send you that redemption code because it is a really cool. Thanks, Ochi. It's a great book, but I'm happy to send those codes out. The publisher actually gave us 100 copies, so the first 100 people who get it into me. Okay, that said, a couple of pieces of advice. So like I said, I was a CASA volunteer for 10 years before coming to work here, and I've worked here for about 11 years. I also became a resource parent and then an adoptive parent. So I'm happy to talk with any of you that are thinking about doing that. I'm happy to, talk about that with you. But I wanted to tell you the best piece of advice that I think somebody could have given me when I started is don't take it personally. I think that was hard for me. And if any of you have worked with kids in the past and had great connections with them, don't take it personally if your kid tells you to F off when you meet them, because they just want to get you before you get them, and they think you're not going to show up, and so you just keep showing up and they'll know. one of the kids I worked with, who was, it was a 14-year-old kid, and he was, I forget why even they referred the case, but he really didn't talk too much to me. I saw him, I visited his mom and his sisters, and he really just wanted out of the system. That's all he really wanted. So when he aged out at 18, he started hopping trains, and I learned that the hobo culture in this country is very thriving. He loved hopping trains, and for about, I think it was maybe 2 years that he'd been out of the system, and I hadn't heard from him. And out of nowhere, he called me and just said, hey. And I was surprised because he couldn't remember my phone number to save his life when he was in care. But somehow he did, and he just called to say, hey. And I ended up seeing him again, and about a year later, he fell from a train car and hit his head, and his brain never started working again, so he passed away. And I'll tell you, he didn't go to college. He didn't, do any stereotypical big achievement things. But I'll tell you, this young man died knowing that I loved him and I cared about him. And that to me is success. So keep in mind that you may have to reframe your definition of success. Some of our kids will go to college, some will go to VOTEC school, some won't. But you just keep showing up. And if they know that you love and care about them, the rest is gravy as far as I'm concerned. So I thank you all for doing this. And I got the names in the chat, and I appreciate you all. So thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Oh, that one always gets me all teary. And last but definitely not least, we have Christy, who's our Director of Advocacy, and she's going to just kind of hand you over to our supervisors. I know you're eager to meet them. Christy.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So good to see you all again. I saw you in session 3, and we had some really great discussions about what you were going to do and what to look forward to. So it's so glad to see all of you that were here and getting ready to start your cases. So my department is your next step. So now you will be matched with your advocate supervisor, and your advocate supervisor will tell you what your next steps are going to be in terms of how you're matched with the case, what you're going to do with your case, how long you have to wait before you can start contacting folks on your case. They'll give you the whole process of what to do. And then your relationship with your advocate supervisor and your relationship with your youth will then start to begin. And so from there, you will be able to contact everyone on that case. And you will be able to share your thoughts, insights, and ideas with your advocate supervisor. What do you do when you first meet your first youth and you first contact the county social worker? So that's what that process sort of looks like. Sometimes it takes a long time, depending on how long it takes for the court to sign your paperwork. And so the conversation for the first couple of weeks it will likely just be with your advocate supervisor about your case, answering any questions that you may have, any concerns that you may have, any doubts that you might think going into this, because we know it can be a very scary process, but that's what your advocate supervisors and our whole team are there for, just to help you, like Lynn said, just be comfortable with your kid. Just know that you're the constant and the consistent person that they have right now. And anything you do with them is better than what was being done for them the day before. And so sometimes if you just look at it that way and understand that your small steps turn into big steps and the small wins are really big wins, it's a very rewarding experience. So I thank you all for completing this process and moving on to the next step. Some of our advocate supervisors that we have with us today, let's see, who do we have today? We have Yossi, and Yossi will be getting some cases today. And Yossi's been working with this for a while, has a wealth of experience, and looking forward to working with you all. We have Kari. Kari's been here with us for a while too. No longer the newbies, wealth of experience, looking to share everything that they have. with you and with your about your case. Then we have Tammy. Tammy is sitting in for Leslie. So I believe, Karen, you are matched with Leslie. Leslie is out today. So Tammy's going to brief you a little bit about Leslie and what your connection looks like. You're in good hands either way. So I definitely, if there's any questions that you may need or have, then you can contact me or you can contact Tammy until Leslie returns back into the office. And I'll put my email in the chat once again for those of you that do not have it. We do have some other staff that are just here kind of listening in, and I'm sure have congratulated you or some other advocate supervisors. So we have Regina here. I know her case is off. Her camera might be off for now, but Regina is one of our advocate supervisors. Oh, there she is, who's here. And sometimes you'll come in contact with other advocate supervisors in the event that yours is out for the day. So we always have other staff that come in and support the graduations, and we look forward to working with you all. And again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Christy. Yay. And so, yeah, congratulations, everyone. And of course, I always love to hear how you're getting on. So don't hesitate to keep in touch with me, and I'll be sending you a final farewell and good luck email. So yeah, now's the time. We're going to put you into breakout rooms. So you'll meet with your supervisors that, like Christy said,